my absolutely beautiful Cancerian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2023. We're Cancer this month right out of the gate. We can get excited because change is on the way as we've got the last new moon solar eclipse happening and the final eclipse in the full moon vein, but also it's the last one in the energy of the Taurus and Scorpio axes. So we're really going to get to review where you have done a lot of work, where the changes have come, and also what you've been trying to enact or put in motion for about the last 6 months. Now is time where you'll get to see it come to fruition. The portions that you don't need are going to go ahead and fall off. It becomes this really delicious thing. Now we're also going to see Pluto coming direct in the energy of Capricorn, and while this is a subtle outer planet movement, I do, Cancer, think that it is really important because you've been doing a lot of work in the area of your relationships since 2008, and it's been a big deal because Pluto has literally changed the world and the society that you live in and how you navigate not just your romantic relationships but business relationships, organizations you've been connected to, and so on. So we are going to explore all of that and more as we look at what October has to offer for you, okay? Now, first of all, I do want to say that I think that this month, while changeable, is actually on a really nice upswing, especially in terms of your home and your domestic life. So let's jump in here and take a look at what's going on. Right at the beginning of the month on the 4th, we've got Mercury coming into the energy of Libra. Now this is going to light up your 4th house space. So this is beautiful because things that you need to be talking about, making decisions about, maybe even contracts that you are signing, this is going to be something that you're able to do. But whatever you've got to get done in your domestic zone, even if you've got to get a project has got to happen in your house, you've got to get somebody to come do the plumbing or any of these kinds of things, you're going to be able to navigate that with a little bit more harmony and balance and work well with others. It's really a lovely kind of energy, especially if you're trying to have domestic harmony in whatever way that looks like for you. So that's a really useful energy for you to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind about Mercury being in the energy of Libra is at home in your domestic zone, while there can be more clarity of things that are coming up and need to be talked about and a willingness to talk them through with another person, right? The willingness to mentally engage that. It doesn't necessarily mean, one, that it will be fast, or two, that it will be abundantly clear. You're going to likely need to talk it through and go back and forth because in the energy of Libra, we see a lot of indecisiveness or the ability to see all sides, think about all sides, so it can delay the decision making, okay? When we get to the 8th, we're going to see Venus step into the energy of Virgo. Now, as Venus moves into Virgo and into your 3rd house space, this is a really nice energy because, first of all, remember, Venus is an attracting energy, so it's pulling in, pulling in, pulling in. So in the 3rd house space for you, things that you've been working on, things that now you've been working on them, maybe even behind the scenes, or you had been working on them and now you're getting ready to be rewarded or acknowledged for something that you did. It's really an energy with Venus here that is more about this idea of, yes, there's an ease and a beauty and a harmony, but you're also attracting good attention to your name. Now, one of the things I was thinking about for you this month, Cancer, is with that Venus and Virgo in the 3rd house, if this isn't an opportunity for you as well, where you realize that you're ready, you feel more confident to put something that you've been working on out into the world because you know that in Virgo form, earth form, it will materialize beautifully. Maybe it's the cover art to your book. Maybe it's the cover art to your podcast, to your website. Maybe you're making graphics that you're going to teach with. Whatever it is, there's really a lot of good energy behind that Venus interaction. Now on the 10th, we're going to see Pluto come out of retrograde, and this is going to be happening at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So of course, lighting up your 7th house space. So anything that's been in a power or a control struggle or issues or deep-seated karmic connections where you've been attached to things in relationships or people in relationships. I actually think that Pluto coming direct now here in Capricorn is like, okay, it's okay to release that. You don't have to be connected to that organization anymore. You don't have to be connected to that person anymore. It's okay to let it go. So it's almost like we're granted a little bit of cosmic grace, which is, you know, since 2008, you've really been kind of working on maybe getting some kind of freedom, or there's been power dynamic that's been happening in this area. So now you're in a position to, instead of being upset or butthurt over the changes that happen, you're a little bit more willing to surrender them and let them go, which I think is nothing more than useful. On the 12th, we see Mars enter into the energy of Scorpio, and Mars being one of the ruling planets of Scorpio means that it is in domicile. So when Mars is working in Scorpio, it lights up your 5th house space. So here we have the beginnings of a story of rest, relax, play, do it because it's joyful. Don't stress yourself, just do it because there's joy in it. Things happening with children, and you've already got a lot that's going on in the domestic zone in that Libra energy. So now as Scorpio season is rolling in, what is happening in your family? Are you starting a family? Are you moving in with somebody? Are you falling in love? Mars and Scorpio can have you walk out of your front door when it's in the 5th house, have you walk out of your front door and you walk into the love of your life. You know, I also do think that because sometimes what can happen, especially for Cancer energy and Taurus energy, I found this, is that you, with Mars in this 5th house, you hear from someone in your life, or it's almost like there's a message or something that comes up from the one that got away, right? This can be an energy that presents itself, but it's more about, at this particular time, what do you really cherish? Who do you really cherish in your life that brings you joy currently? That's really something I would look at. Now, other things could be happening for your children. My goodness, it is October. It's back to school. However they're doing school, it's back to school time. So you might be laser focused on getting the school supplies, making sure the bedtime routine is on, you know, whatever it is, there's this heavy emphasis on being focused on one thing at a time around the children, or around starting that new business, or around love. As we get to the 14th, we're going to have the last solar eclipse of the year. It's a new moon solar eclipse happening at 21 degrees of Libra. Okay, now this is a really lovely eclipse in the terms that there's a motorbike right now. So this is a really lovely eclipse in the terms of your 4th house, home, family, real estate, property. Okay, so whatever has been happening here in your home area. First of all, this is a solar eclipse. So things that need to be relooked at in terms of how the area of your 4th house is functioning, or where you need to have greater insight into the dynamic, the balance, how you communicate, how you partner, how you love, how you work together with someone else, whether the relationships that you're in your home life, or the, you know, even the relationships with your children, the relationships with your parents, that parent-child dynamic, it all gets a real revelation at this time. Now, one of the things that I think the eclipse can bring to your consciousness over this next 6 months, if not immediately, is a real harmonious clearing out with even your family. You know, if you haven't talked to your mother in a long time, if you haven't talked to your sibling in a long time, if you felt like I just can't get on with this ex business partner, ex spouse, ex whatever, this I think actually is very useful to help bring that harmony back into your life and help relieve some of the conflict. The other thing that this new moon I think will do is help you have a little bit of peace with understanding that sometimes partnership, whether it's business or just life, it really is not a straight line. It's just not a straight line, and that does not make it wrong at all. Instead, it's a time to work really in the deliciousness of how we synthesize partnership and what that looks like, that we can only go so far on our own. We've got to, at some point, Libra, attach to another source in order to move forward, okay? When we get to the 22nd, it is a busy day. We've got Mercury entering into the energy of Scorpio. And then on the 22nd, we've got the Sun entering into the energy of Scorpio. So these again are going to begin the yearly trip through the 5th house. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of play that's available to be happening here. And I think you can be really very focused on it. The other thing I think about with Mars also being in the mix here is conception. You know, whether it is that conception of a business, you've been waiting to start something, you're at the beginning of something, or just flat out regular conception. You're beginning a family, you're making a baby, you're adopting a child, right? Whatever it is in this 5th house zone, there really is a more profound and intuitive connection to the joy, to the pleasure, and to being willing to take the risk, but being able to have enough strategy to just go right at it. That's the brilliance of Mars in Scorpio. Instead of being in Libra, where it's moving in lots of directions, it's just going straight at whatever it is that you are working on. So that's absolutely lovely. On the 28th, as we're going to close out the month, we have got the full moon lunar eclipse happening at 5 degrees of Taurus. Okay, as this particular lunar eclipse is going to finish out the work you've been doing in your 11th house, I do think that we have to be a bit torn about this, right? We have to look at the material plane of life and say, first of all, you know, did I do the work in my 11th house? Have I built connections? Have I built collaborations? Have I implemented friendships into my life? Have I implemented technology into my life? Because it's a very material plane question about the way that we show up in the 11th house energy, which is social things, friends, social networking, advancements, places that you want your name to be known, things that you think are important and or are connected to humanitarian causes or ideas as a whole. Taurus wants to know if we have a plan that is going to be sustainable here. Now, the trick has been that Uranus has been in Taurus, with Taurus in this house. So likely new connections have come into your life, maybe even surprising new connections. And those new connections, I think, really lead you to something significant down the road. But also, it makes us look like, do I have something solid in my life in terms of my support, in terms of my organizational connections? Or am I connected to memberships or organizations or friendships groups or social media in my life that is absolutely making me exhausted, right? What are the conditions? What is the practicality of this area of your life? And if nothing else, what I think you can think of is that Taurus really wants to simplify, right? Like keep it simple, because in simplicity we gain clarity, and clarity will bring a lot more success in this particular area. So if there are people, places, and things that are falling out of your life because you are now feeling guided that is just an energy distraction, or it's not an actual cultivation and implementation of genuine friendship or usefulness in your life, I think that this particular eclipse is the one over the next 6 months you see yourself letting those things go, letting the new things that have come in and are of actual use and are good resources to you really take their place in the seat of your life. All right, my beautiful Cancer friends, I hope that you have an absolutely gorgeous month. I always look forward to connecting with you. Make sure that you like this video, comment, share, and subscribe, as it helps me grow the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next month.